This week on Motor Mania, is this the strangest car you've ever seen? Abandoned on a Ford drawing board, but revived in Southampton, we drive the X2000. Plus more cruise news from Adrian the Canadrian. And Richard Fiennes finds a Triumph Fury. But first, here's Ginny.
There are plenty of times that you've seen us behind the wheel of fabulous, expensive, fast cars. Cars like that are what driving is all about. And yes, we'd all love to find one parked outside our house in the morning.
Unfortunately, the car that we'd love to own and the car we have to own are actually very different. The reality needs to be an affordable, practical car, something to nip around in and transport us all from A to B.
And those are qualities that these two midget gems certainly have. The Seat Arosa and VW's Baby Lupo. Cute little names, in cute yet practical packages. But they're also cars that won't leave you pleading with the bank manager. But how do these super minis, that are just perfect for today's super mums, compare with each other? In terms of the factor, they're both sweet little bundles. In fact, from behind, it'd take the most observant of mums to even tell them apart. They both have a squared off little hatch at the back that opens to reveal a tiny amount of storage space which is actually even smaller in the Lupo. But that's the only point that makes the Arosa the more attractive of the two. Both cars have a very similar look. They do, after all, share the same daddy, otherwise known as Volkswagen. But the story here is one that's familiar to many siblings.
Unfortunately, the Arosa has lost out to its little brother in the looks department. Now, they are very similar. In fact, they could almost be twins. But while the Lupo has the potential to make it to the catwalk, the Arosa is always going to be the one known as having a good personality. But hey, when it comes to cars in this class, isn't a good personality what it's all about?
This is the kind of car that you immediately feel at home in. The 1.4 engine feels nice and punchy, it revs smoothly, and its 60 brake horsepower gets you to a top speed of 100 miles per hour. 0 to 60 takes 14 seconds, a couple of seconds slower than the Lupo.
The 4-speed gearbox is slick and it responds well. Now, my only gripe is that the power steering, which by the way is standard on all models, feels a little bit heavy. But that aside, this car sticks to the road like glue when you corner, and it really is, surprisingly, a very entertaining drive. The Arosa shares its platform with the VW Polo. Well, in fact, to be perfectly honest, it probably shares an awful lot with its cousins from Volkswagen. But that isn't a bad thing, far from it. What it actually means is that Seat's days of quality control problems are now long gone.
There's a definite feeling of quality about the Arosa. But of course, quality costs. And in this case, the 1.4 SE will set you back £8,395.
And that price includes a few extras, things like central locking, electric windows and a pollen filter if you're a hay fever sufferer. Now, the cabin isn't the most exciting of places to be, what with this extremely large, bulky dashboard of, yes, black plastic. But everything does feel solid and well built, and as if it would withstand the hammer that a family will no doubt put it through. Now, we know that little Lupo comes tops in the looks department, but what about that bit that we spend all our time in? The interior. Well, the bright green upholstery that tones with the exterior paint job will certainly wake up the kids in the morning. I think it looks great, it's really bright and cheerful. But don't worry if green isn't your thing, because there are plenty of other colours you can choose from. Now, in here the look is very modern and really well thought out. There's a very interesting use of shapes and some wonderful design touches. The Arosa may have been well built, but this eclipses it. It just oozes quality and design. You could almost be in a Golf that's been shrunk in the wash. Just look at the way the grab handles and the cup holders are dampened. There are plenty of ingenious storage spaces, and my favourite touch for those cold winter mornings, heated seats. These are things that you would normally expect to find in a luxury marque and not a super mini. In fact, the quality in here could put many luxury cars to shame. But then, this is a Volkswagen.
And this 1.4 SE may be more upmarket than the Seat, but it's going to cost you more as well. Around £1,200 more at £9,500. But remember, because this is a Volkswagen, the reputation and build quality mean you won't lose quite so much money after a few years of motoring.
And what happy motoring it will be. The 1.4 engine produces 75 brake horsepower. That means you get a top speed of around 106 miles per hour. And if you're up for it, you can get from 0 to 60 in just over 12 seconds. But somehow I don't think the Lupo is going to attract too many boy racers. Now this 1.4 engine is definitely a better buy than the 1 litre. The 16 valves means that it rushes around town in a hurry to get all your jobs done. It really does feel very nippy. Overtaking is no problems in it, neither is cruising on the motorway.
The benefits of Super Minis are of course cheap insurance. Group 5 in the case of the VW and a low Group 3 for the Seat. They'll also be cheap to run as they both average around 45 miles to the gallon.
And now it's time for the bit that all brothers and sisters hate, picking the favourite. And in this family, it's a very close call. The Arosa is an excellent value for money package, and surprisingly, it's very entertaining to drive. The Lupo isn't quite so much fun behind the wheel, but it's the excellent build quality and those wonderful design touches that really make it stand out. And as I doubt that many of us are buying a Super Mini with performance in mind, for me, the Lupo gets to be the favourite in this family.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the big moment we've all been waiting for.
Now that we've reached the end of the century, I'm finding it quite amusing comparing the predictions of the 1950s with the reality of life today. We have mobile phones, for instance, but not as yet the video digital phones that everyone promised us on wristwatches.
You are going to see the most fabulous dream car ever made.
But I think the wildest predictions of all were made about the sort of cars we'd be driving now. Back in 1958, Alex Tremulous at the Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, Michigan, thought that the sort of vehicle that we'd be cruising around in the year 2000 would be not very different to this.
And now here it is, the X2000.
Now I've seen some amazing vehicles in my time and been in some outlandish designs, but nothing I've ever seen could prepare me for this car. And here is its owner, Andy Saunders. Andy, what the hell is it?
The car itself is a 1958 Ford X2000. It was designed by Ford under Alex Tremulous, the famous 50s designer, at their advanced styling department. It was made as a 2-foot-long model to start with, in clay. Never went any further. The idea was scrapped along with everything that Ford ever designed in the 50s, and it was just obsolete straight away. They thought it was a bit too silly, and it was destroyed.
So after you'd woken up one morning and decided you wanted to build the X2000, how did you go about it?
I phoned the Henry Ford Museum straight away. That was the first thing. Then I started looking for a base car, and I decided that the 62 Mercury had a superb rear end light cluster bumper, which, if they'd have designed it in 1958, could have been the shape that it was to be if it had gone in production. I located a 62 Mercury Monterey 4-door sedan for 250 quid. That was it. Got it back, cut it to pieces. From the Mercury, I've used all the chassis and all the running gear, so it's correct period running gear. I've used the floor pan, the boot lid, bumper and rear panel, and then I've fabricated everything from there.
And how long did it take you?
It took 10 months.
And lots of bruised knuckles?
Many.
So, does it go out a lot? Do you use it much?
Yeah, it's on the road. It's 7 foot 8 inches wide, so it's you can't go for a nice afternoon drive because you have to think too much. It's too much concentration. But to take it out is a good laugh, as you'll see in a minute.
It's a bit of a head turner, is it? It's
unbelievable. People on buses, people eating ice creams, you see them drop ice cream down their front, and you can't believe the human reaction to something that they can't contemplate in their daily life.
Can you tell me what the engine is?
The engine is, even 40 years later, is top secret. I'll take you for a spin and you can see what the head turns it does.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Those were the days I always remember. Those were the days that have come and gone. Those were the times I always remember. Trying to find my way back home. From good to bad, I lived it and loved it. Where there was struggle,
Now that the age Alex Tremulous was predicting is here, we can see he got things slightly wrong. We don't live on the moon like the Jetsons, atomic energy hasn't revolutionised our lives, and we drive Mondeos, not the X2000. Pity, really.
Hi, Richard Fiennes. Hello again. This week, I'm at another auction. So many people rang in after my previous piece about those rear prototype Triumphs. I've found another one. They're popping up all over the place. Quite extraordinary. This is known as the Triumph Fury. It was purely a one-off, built in 1965, designed by Michelotti, who went on and designed other famous Communal Garden Triumphs. Very redolent of a Triumph Spitfire, which is based on, even though it has a 2-litre engine, a modified 2-litre engine from the Triumph 2000 saloon car. If you look at the back of the car, it also has echoes of the later Triumph Stag. Again, this car was found by John Ward and refurbished, and it's got an estimated value of, similar to that Triumph Roadster that you saw the other week, something like £12,000 to £14,000. Unfortunately, it never went into production. They concentrated on developing the Spitfire into the GT6, the poor man's E-Type Jaguar, as they became known as. But I think you'll agree this is a very svelte-looking sports car. Sports car designers were really, for the first time, being given some freedom to express themselves and design cars that they wanted to see go into production. But the golden factor, you could say, and one of the prime motivators in persuading the public to buy sports cars is a sports car has to look really sexy. It's got to have that I must have factor, just like the original E-Type did and the original Lotus Land that went on to feature in the very successful Avengers series. So it is with this Triumph Fury. Great shame it never saw the light of day, but there we go. More finds next week. Be seeing you.
We're here in beautiful Etobicoke, Ontario, Canada, at a local shopping mall where all sorts of unique cars will be rolling in. A few have already arrived. We're at what's called a classic car cruise, and we've come across a beautiful piece here, which is owned by Vic. Pleased to meet you, sir.
Nice meeting you.
And tell us a bit about the car, what year it is, what make, for those viewers.
This is a 1956 Chevy Bel Air. It's a 2-door post. It's quite rare. And it's one of the best ones that I have seen. That's why I bought it. The car was originally restored, and the car is a Texas car.
So for viewers in Britain, that's a clever idea because we have a lot of salt and snow up in Canada, but if you go down south to somewhere like Texas, you can bring a car up that's never seen snow or salt.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you did that?
Yes.
And how many years ago was that?
Well, I've been involved with old cars for about 35 to 40 years, and I always like to go south to get a nice piece of, you know, like memorabilia, like a classic or an antique car, because like you say, it's they're rust-free over there, and there's not much body work to be done, and the worst thing you can do is not keep it original. That's about it, eh?
Not to give any secrets away, but do you remember this car when it drove around the streets of Toronto or Etobicoke when you were younger, when you were, let's say, a boy?
Yes. Yes, that's why I always like to own a 56.
So you always, since a boy, you've always, as a Cub Scout, you wanted to have a 56 Chev Bel Air.
Exactly. There's 3.5, what they call the 3.5 Chevy, which is a 55, 56, and a 57. And my preferred one was always a 56. Yeah, we go to Niagara Falls. We cruise all around. Wherever I go, she comes. She enjoys.
Very good. Could we ask a favor to maybe open the trunk, what they call the boot in England, and maybe the hood, and we'll have a Have a look at all the bells and whistles on this one. 56 Bel Air. Don't touch the car, Phil. It says on there, look but do not touch. Some of the signs on the dash even say, unless you're in the nude, do not go in the car because buttons and zippers scratch. So
The license plate says, I am a sexy one, not a 61. Sexy one.
So it's I'm a 6E1.
Right.
So what does the E mean?
Sexy. Sexy. You know, like, you know, in sex, sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Sexy?
Yeah.
Sexy.
Right, right.
As in sexy, S-E-X?
Right, S-E-X.
I'm a sexy one.
Right. I used to have it in my Porsche. As I say, as I told you before, I traded my Porsche. And
this crazy guy traded a Porsche and a Fiat Spider for this, and he did that trade down in Dallas, you
Dallas,
said.
Texas, yes.
Right. You know what? I heard there was somebody on the grassy knoll that would have given you, you know, $50,000 for this.
Oh, no.
At the book depository.
It's not for sale.
No? Okay.
Nope. No,
Let's see under the trunk here. Well, this is a large trunk. You know, I know some people in the family, shall we say, that would like a trunk this big, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Everybody likes a trunk this big.
No, I meant you can put 3 bodies in there.
Oh yeah, you can. I was going to say that you can put 3, 4 people in there.
But we do not condone homicide. It's nasty. I'm gonna go under the hood here. So I would guess this is a large engine, like a 320 cubic inch or something. Oh my God, look at this. 350.
This is a 350, 3¼ horsepower, 325 horsepower. LT1 is a Corvette motor. And it's equipped with a 400 turbo automatic transmission.
Right.
Has a dual exhaust system, stainless steel. Mm-hmm. Has a what they call quadrijet Weber carburetor on it. This car's got a lot of power.
Now, what's the top speed of this car, Vic?
I would estimate on the highway, if I really push it, I could touch probably 135 to 140.
Is that miles?
Miles, yeah.
Miles an hour. Very good. We don't condone that either. Do not speed. Always wear your seatbelt. We have to get those messages across to viewers so our producer doesn't give us hell when we get back at the office. Charlie. It's Charlie? Adrian Bell. From Men and Motors. We're doing a program called Car Crazy Canadians, and you...
I am.
You're a car crazy Canadian?
Yes, ma'am.
And, ma'am? Man, okay, right. Tell me about the car. This is an old T-Bird.
It's a 1955 T-Bird. Okay, it's got 2 tops, hard top and a soft top. It's got a 292 engine, 2-speed transmission in it, and power seats, that's all. There's no power steering or brakes. And the mileage on it is 18-something original miles.
18,000 original miles?
Yes, sir. Original tires on it. Everything original except the canvas top, which I just put on about 4 years ago.
And what year is it again?
1955.
55 T-Bird.
I used to work at McDonnell Douglas building wings for aircrafts.
Right.
And I always did like T-Birds. In fact, I always had T-Birds. And I told my boss who was looking at the Auto Trader, and I said, if you see a 1955, 6, or 57 original T-Birds, let me know.
There's an engine. Tell us what's under the hood here, Charlie. What are we looking at?
292. Okay.
Cubic inch.
Yes,
okay.
And it's 200 horsepower, and it got all the dress up on it, eh?
Mm-hmm.
See, it's all original.
A few weeks ago on the show, you may remember, we encountered the Foreman. It's a classic replica, basically kind of recalling the style of the late 60s supercars. If you remember the likes of the Ford GT40 and those beautiful, sexy, swoopy Ferraris. And this car recalls that era very much. And I didn't drive it on the programme then. We thought we'd leave that, tease you a bit, and we're going to drive it today. And that's not something you take lightly. This thing weighs less than 1,000 kilos. It's got 375 brake horsepower from a small block Chevy V8. That's a lot of engine, it's a lot of car. And so starting this thing actually has quite a sense of occasion to it. There's several things to do. Having checked we're in neutral, I don't want to fire myself into the next county. Lift this rocker switch here, flick my ignition to on, put my fuel pump on, and it chocks away. And then we press the best button of all. Listen to this. Even a sound like that, it just... Something that gorgeous cannot possibly be legal. Obviously, it's as direct as you would expect. There's nothing between you and what's going on. The clutch is seriously competition heavy. I'm going to push it along to the left, but not too far to the left. We don't want to go into reverse by accident. That would be very, very, very bad. I'm going to reach down here. Have to excuse me a moment to get the handbrake off. Don't forget, this isn't a case of somebody saying, oh, it's a bit like a race car and it's on the road. This is a race car on the road. Of course, there's one thing we've forgotten here. Now, I'd like you to tell me any way in which you can have more fun than with this. The noise, the feel, everything about this thing. This really is the real thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. Despite the size, it looks huge. As soon as you get in it, it shrinks around you. It really does shrink to fit, and that has got to be the sign of a seriously well-sorted car. You become instantly aware of where the wheels are, instantly aware of where the centre of gravity is, instantly aware of what's under my right foot, and you better not get carried away. The controls are an absolute delight. Rigid and tense and taut all the time, informing you what's going on. But unbelievably, they're not heavy, which when you consider the amount of power that they're controlling, that's quite an achievement.